Welcome to Livsenergi, Theresa.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So you are in the UK right now, and we are in Stockholm, Sweden. And Theresa, you are an author, well known in the wide world out there, but not to Sweden yet. So we are about to launch your first book in Sweden in these days.
Yeah, and it's all part of my master plan for global domination. That you are the last ones to crack, okay? So, no, I'm in about 44 languages. Yeah, especially, I'm in about 44 languages now. And it's wonderful that the spiritual message I'm trying to promote is becoming so popular, especially now with the world in crisis. I can talk about that later if you want, about I've never had so much interest, because I have been writing 25 years about spirituality, about back to nature, about the self-help advice I've been giving from a spiritual perspective, but never have I had so much interest as the last 4 to 5 months. It's been incredible. Organizations that I never thought would talk to me are, you know, because I'm quite sort of, I'm a new age writer, you could say controversial. And in times past, the more traditional broadcasters, etc., wouldn't perhaps be interested in what I've got to say, and now they are. And I feel that's a breakthrough for a spiritual approach to life.
So it's not just interest from your readers, it's interest from different media perspectives that want to hear your voice.
Well, last couple of weeks, I've had Cosmopolitan, Heat magazine, this is a celebrity magazine, contacting me about my dream research, and as a dream expert, they did a double-page feature on what I do. I've had Yahoo, the BBC, media companies, Anthropology, a clothing store with 200.
I know that store.
And I did a dream webinar last week, which was very well received because I do events, and they wanted me to dream decode on there, and other organizations as well who are asking me to come and talk about the spiritual perspective, about interpreting your dreams. And it's incredible. But I think in times of crisis, people do tend to go back to their roots, the spiritual DNA in their roots. And that's the reason for it. And for me, I feel very blessed to have this opportunity to talk about what I've been talking about for 25 years.
That's cool. Theresa, I will stop you there for 1 second and just tell all our listeners out there that this is Theresa Cheung, the author of our next book called 21 ritualer, Använd kraften i naturen, eller Använd naturens kraft. So it's in English, the title is 21 Rituals to Connect with Nature. Theresa,
it sounds much nicer in Swedish. It sounds much more exotic. Oh, so much better. I want to keep that title.
Right. No, actually, we thought that maybe this is the first in the series of 21 rituals. We will talk about rituals with you in a short while, because it's a series of books that you have been doing on that kind of subject, which is really interesting to hear about. But just for the record, so you are well known over the world, and you are writing in, like you just said, you are writing within the area, the esoteric area, and New Age, if you want to call it that. That's not a very common word we use in Sweden any longer. It was like 20, 30 years ago, but now it's more like a spirituality has become its own like segment, which I really like. So, but you are well, how do you say, you are deep into very different areas within the esoteric field.
Yes.
So you write about dream, how do you say it?
Interpretation, dream coding, yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about, because you are so wide.
I am. Well, I'll go to my background. I was born into a family of psychics and spiritualists, you know, that traveled around. That was my life. I was blessed to have the opportunity to read theology at King's College, Cambridge University, where I learned about all world religions. And then I embraced universal spirituality. I mean, I love religion, but I don't subscribe to one because I believe all religions are beautiful. So it's a spiritual approach. And then I had opportunity after opportunity to write books about the esoteric, about the paranormal, about hauntings, about ghosts initially, then about angels, then about the possibility of an afterlife. And then I was given the opportunity to write encyclopedias for HarperCollins of the psychic world first, an A to Z of everything psychic, then about dreams, interpretation, then about astrology and birthdays. So I became kind of the go-to sort of one with encyclopedic knowledge. And I think it's because of my academic background that I could use that to present this in a more credible way. I have never claimed to be psychic or to see angels or to talk to dead people. However, like everyone, I've had my moments of profound intuition, lucid dreams that have played out in real life, and moments that I believe an angel saved my life. But I approach it from a very skeptical perspective. I just put the facts out there. Then I bring in scientists. I work with scientists. And the conclusion I've come to after these 25 years is there's something there. We don't know why we're on this planet. We can only guess. But I present the evidence from an esoteric, spiritual perspective. And it seems to have struck a chord, that approach. Because I think a lot of people are like me. They want to believe, but they don't necessarily see angels or talk to dead people. And I feel that that's where what my role is. An ordinary person who believes in the possibility of the extraordinary. And that's what my research and my writing, and I've written close to 100 books in this area now.
Oh, I counted to 20, but then I heard your interview with Russell Brand, and I'm like, oh God, I missed a few.
I told him I was a serial, yeah, Russell Brand, I can talk about that if you like. I'm a serial spiritual writer. It's my passion, it's my life, it's what I was born into, it's what I've studied, it's what I've researched. And my passion has connected me to the likes. I've had an interview with Piers Morgan about spirituality, would you believe, on GMTV. That was the first.
Teresa, I have a dog here. I know.
Oh, I love that. Oh, brilliant. I've got a dog here too.
I will just make sure she's quiet. Okay, go on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I don't know where I was really. I've forgotten that.
Let's go on then. So tell us a little bit more. You had quite an interesting background growing up, traveling around. You know, in Sweden we don't have that history with spiritualists. So tell us a little bit about it. How was it?
Well, I grew up in people who believe that you can communicate with the other side, spirits. So going to a demonstration of mediumship when I was 4 or 5 was commonplace, that you have an ongoing relationship with the departed loved ones, that there are people that can bring that departed loved one back and talk. It was something that I just accepted, that when people died, they went on in some kind of spiritual form. Now, the struggle with me is that I was surrounded and born into people who had the gift, but I didn't. And I felt there was something wrong with me. But however, what I inherited from them was a passion and an interest in it. And I wanted to find out more. What is going on? Because I've seen so many extraordinary incidents of psychics or mediums making a connection or finding out information that there's no way that they possibly could. I wanted to research it. And that was why I went to Cambridge University. I was blessed to get that opportunity to study there. And then I realized that my calling was maybe to write about it, research it, and find out what is going on. I'm still very skeptical. I don't know whether psychics and mediums are telepathic, that they maybe have an ability to read minds in some way. I don't know. But what I've made it my life's purpose is to show that there is something there. There are too many anecdotal incidents of extraordinary things happened that you can't explain rationally. And in any other line of work, this would be regarded as data. And that's why about 5 years ago, I teamed up with some scientists who are researching consciousness. So working with scientists has become my passion, because the problem with this area is the skeptics say, where's the proof? So I have worked with scientists to show that there is some proof. There is credible research out there. And I've worked with scientists and neuroscientists to find out what's happening in the brains of psychics and mediums, and also scientists who study what consciousness is. What is consciousness? I find that absolutely fascinating. And I try to present this research in my books. So you're not just getting a comforting, feel-good, vague read when you have one of my books. You will get the comfort, I hope, because I firmly believe that death ends a life, not a relationship. I think it is possible to have an ongoing relationship in spirit with departed loved ones. But you will also get, look, here's the science. Have a look at it. Just open your mind to what's going on in the scientific world right now. It is stunning. And and because of my work with the scientists, one of my books, actually, the Premonition Code, where we talk about people who have profound intuition, who work with governments, who work with law enforcement because of their intuitive ability, their ability to sense, perhaps see the future. That book actually ended up having a 2-page feature in the Guardian newspaper, which was incredible. I felt what a way forward. It's being taken seriously. Yeah. And the reason it was being taken seriously was because I teamed up for that book with a neuroscientist. And the same in this book that we're talking about here, 21 Nature. Yes. I bring in the scientific research into why nature's so good for you, but I also realize I'm not a practitioner. I'm an author. So I brought in a couple of authors to offer that perspective of people who use the healing power of nature in their work every day and have clients coming to them. I wanted their voice in as well, because as I said, I'm an author who presents the research, who presents my opinion. But increasingly in my books, I've brought in voices from science to co-author with me, or the practitioner, the people who are actually having clients and see every day on the front lines how this is benefiting people. So
you have also presented yourself as a collector of stories.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. It sounds so inviting.
Oh, thank you. Well, the reason I did it as well, so that we have a body of scientific data. And I was actually contacted by academics, one whom was researching his PhD at the time into the possibility of afterlife communication. And he wanted to use my stories. And this is great because I've written about 12 afterlife story collections. Now, these are people who write to me saying, something extraordinary happened to me. Can you explain it? Or it really helped me. So what I do is I collate these stories with my commentary, with the scientific research. And those books have been, 2 of them were made Sunday Times top 10 here, number 4 and number 9. And they had no publicity because the UK is quite cynical. It is a cynical place. It's actually the worst place. My soul, I don't know why put me in the UK.
You could be in Sweden as well. That's a cynical.
Is it? Well, it's good though. Actually, I really like that approach because I think, people want to believe, people can be gullible. And I like that. I mean, a lot of people want to be told what to do and what to say and what to think and what to feel. And I think a healthy dose of skepticism is very important. But as I said, the books came out with no publicity from my publisher because they typically with my book overseas. I mean, I'm big in places, Croatia. I'm very big. There's Serbia. I all over the world. China, of course, given my surname, because my husband is Chinese.
Oh, that's why. I was wondering.
Yes. A lot of people think my husband is Chinese. But there was no publicity. And they were shocked as well that suddenly number 4 in the Sunday Times, it was An Angel Healed Me, which was stories of nurses and health carers who have been present when people are dying and have seen extraordinary things happening. Moments of lucidity just before a person dies where they believe they see a lost loved one, or lights, glows, or nurses waking up at a certain time in the night and then the next morning and a patient they're very close to has died at that time. Near-death experience stories, which are very big in the news at the moment. I get sent a lot of those. People who feel they can't write to anyone else because doctors will dismiss it, psychologists will dismiss it as wishful thinking. And I get all those arguments. However, there are arguments against it. For example, people say it's hallucination. Hallucination typically makes a person feel very depressed and confused. When people have had an afterlife or spiritual experience, it's the opposite. They feel elated. They come back to their life with a newfound sense of purpose. Hallucination is the opposite. if people say, well, why are they all so similar, the experiences? Well, for me, that's a positive. Because when you get a 4-year-old child talking about the afterlife in the same way as a 99-year-old, how is that possible, regardless of culture and religion? I do know all the arguments against, and actually I love coming back and just opening the debate. I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm not. All I'm saying is, well, have a look at my point of view, because I'm going to look at yours. Yeah. Because I think that's where humanity progresses, is if we all take a look at your point of view. People can say I'm deluded, it's wishful thinking, etc., etc. Where's the proof? But I can say to them, well, you prove to me that there is no life after death. They can't either.
No, exactly.
Skeptics can't prove to me the opposite. I can't prove to them definitively either. So let's just have a meeting of minds and take all of us open our minds to the other point of view. That's what I'd like to do. But what I do know, in times of crisis, what the skeptics have to offer does not bring the comfort. When it really matters, all people talk about, because I did work in a hospice and I had the opportunity, the blessing to be with people when they passed, they never talk about anything but love or what they felt, which means to me that what we feel has a power. And I believe what we feel is what survives our bodily death. And I believe what we feel is what can change the world. And I don't think the world has paid enough attention to the power of feelings, emotion, compassion, and kindness. And look where we are right now in the world.
Feelings can actually also change health conditions.
Absolutely. Yes, if people have something to live for, feel loved and cared for, they do tend to have a higher recovery rate than people who feel depressed and alone. And, if you look at call lines, Samaritan call lines, biggest reason is loneliness and people feeling unloved and uncared for. And what I talk about in my books is, as hard as it is, the place to begin with that love is with yourself. And that's the journey of our lives, because if you don't love yourself, trying to get other people to love you is an uphill struggle. And that is the journey, the spiritual journey of our lives. And all my books cover this, the ritual books as well. If you don't have that foundation stone in place, self-love, the rest of your life isn't going to make sense. And it's the hardest thing in the world. If you were born into very difficult circumstances, if there was abuse, hardest thing in the world. My books also address, why do bad things happen to good people? How do you deal with it? The whys, the big whys, which are all the arguments against what I talk about. And I do think that Ritual, the book that you're going to work, it's actually the 4th in the series, is a powerful way.
The 21 rituals for intuition, for make a change.
Well, the first one was a little book I wrote 4 years ago. Had no idea. I just wrote it in 2 weeks, actually, because I was getting fed up in the spiritual movement of all this emphasis on meditation, mindfulness, dreaming, hoping, affirmations, because I'd done all that in my life. And yes, there is point to it. Sort out your head first. Yeah. But it's what you do that matters. We all know people who say, promise a lot, and then don't deliver. And that's how the universe feels, I think, with a lot of us in the spiritual movement. We're all meditating for hours. We're all being mindful. We're all visualizing. We're all saying, I love you in the mirror. But if our actions, our daily actions our rituals that we do every day don't reflect that spiritual approach, nothing's going to change in our life. For example, saying you love yourself and meditating for hours, and then lying in all morning, not making your bed, eating badly, all the things you do are what the universe notices. So my books have kind of like been an answer to that big book, The Secret, which I think causes more distress at times, because people think, well, I am trying to think positively. I am fighting my negative thoughts, but my life still sucks. What's going on? And I'm saying, well, it's obvious. It's what you do. And even if you don't feel good, doing small positive things every day over a period of time that will change your life for the better. The universe is waiting for people to become viable. If you wake up saying your affirmations, do your 15-minute meditation, etc., that's great. The universe likes that, promise, the door's open. But you've got to then live your life in that way, positively, right? You've got to be kind to other people. You've got to declutter your house. You've got to eat healthily. You've got to do the positive rituals. Then the universe will say, right, now we can bring good things to this person, because they are actually walking the talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Too much talk in the New Age spiritual movement.
Yeah.
Too much dreaming.
And too much talk to yourself, perhaps.
Yeah.
But you are talking about rituals as something that we already are doing, which I do, I think you are saying, and I agree to that. And so looking at the 21 ritual books, it's actually not, I mean, some people could be, feel a little bit, how do you say, strange about rituals, because it's, you know, ritual, it's spiritual, and it's mystical, and it's religious and stuff like that. And everyone doesn't like that. So
let me explain.
Yes, please.
Ritual is, you can do rituals without being religious or even spiritual. That is the beauty of these books. If you are skeptical or whatever, it's very everyday. A ritual is something that gets its power from your belief in it, from your willingness to repeat it every day. Actually, though, you don't even need to believe in the power of ritual for it to work. There's been research study done where if you do something and you don't believe it, it's still better for you than to not do the ritual. Let me explain a ritual with terms of tennis. You know when they bounce the ball before they serve? That's a ritual. There's no point to it. However, yeah, but they bounce the ball, don't they?
The ground, yeah, that's right.
What? That's a ritual. Because what it's doing is that, you know, it's concentrating them. And it's a kind of like, if they don't do it, I mean, it's very rare to see someone just go and serve in tennis. That's a ritual. That ritual increases the chances of them getting the ace that they want. And not doing it, it's impossible for them. And that is what daily rituals are. They're bouncing the ball before the serve. They're getting you to that place where everything is just right and aligned. And they're simple, everyday things that you do. We do not realize that what we do every day is what defines us. We are what we do. We are not what we think.